Great. Every week at this time, we do something called a community moment, where we welcome a member from our community to get up and share a thought or reflection, for the day. And it could be on just about anything. We've had a wide range of topics covered. It could be something you're passionate about. It might be an idea from a book you've read. So if you'd like to get on the schedule, please get with me. You can tell me here, but it's most effective to send me a note of some sort. So do both. You can tell me, but also send me an email or Facebook message. And right now we're booking up, I think, the last weekend in May is our first opening right now. So if you even remotely think you're interested, get on the calendar. That would be a good thing. Today we have a veteran community moment presenter. Always.
Veteran sounds better than old.
Okay. And let's give a welcome back to our friend Marie Angell.
We mark the passing of Leonard Nimoy, who portrayed the iconic Mr. Spock, who usually let logic triumph over emotion, which is fitting for my topic today. Let's see if it's going to work now. Yes, which is, don't look at that. All right, I'm so excited, because I wanted to say, you may have noticed that my name was in the bulletin, but not my topic. Now, the logical explanation would be that I simply forgot. That's plausible. It's entirely possible. It's the simple explanation. But doesn't it make you wonder? What is it that they don't want you to know? And that's how conspiracy theories start. Because ludicrous conspiracy theories are just a smokescreen to hide the incredible truth. So why do we laugh a lot about conspiracy theories, but why do we believe conspiracy theories? Well, a lot of us here, myself at times included, like to think that people who believe certain conspiracy theories are idiots, that they're not educated. If they only knew. If they only knew. But really, that's not necessarily the reason. There's a lot of reasons. One is science is hard, y'all. It is. It's hard. The great thinkers of the 19th century were probably the last people on earth who could really know and understand the whole body of science as they knew it at that time. It is not possible now. It's hardly possible to know everything about your field of specialty, let alone everything about what we know about the natural world now, because knowledge has just exploded. What the hell? So views are shaped by political opinions, inconsistencies in official accounts, holes you can drive a truck through, feelings of powerless fear, but not necessarily lack of education or knowledge, despite how it may appear. One of the great masters of science, Sir Isaac Newton, was very fond of alchemy, so fond of it that it probably contributed to his death through his experiments with mercury and trying to turn it into a precious metal, which he never succeeded at doing. Although there is speculation that the kind of elasticity and experiments that he did in working with alchemy may have helped lead to the kind of thinking that made his true scientific discoveries work. But that's all speculation at this point. But knowledge is not, and smarts is not a protector against pseudoscience and conspiracy theories. And now we have the internet, which this is kind of blurry, I'm sorry, but thanks to the internet, it's now possible to be extremely well informed and completely wrong at the same time. This is true. And we like to think that we have special insider knowledge, that because big corporations, governments, sometimes they do things that they don't want us to know about. This is a letter. It's dated just shortly before the JFK assassination. Lee Harvey Oswald to Mr. Hunt. This letter surfaced in the early 70s, was examined by handwriting experts, including Mrs. Lee Harvey Oswald, and found to be his handwriting. It just says he'd like information, communicating his position. It basically is an attempt to tie the CIA to the assassination of JFK. And after this letter surfaced, a number of conspiracy theories regarding the CIA began to sound more credible. And by the late 70s, more Americans believed in some version of a conspiracy theory about the JFK assassination than believed in the findings of the Warren Commission, which is exactly what the KGB wanted when they forged that letter. This was part of their campaign to discredit major American institutions like the CIA and the presidency, which didn't need much help by that point. But because that was the time that they actually released that letter, they forged that letter, that was in the midst of the Watergate hearings. But this was a very successful campaign, and probably it was a conspiracy about conspiracies. Mind blown. But what it also did, we had an unintended consequence, because it seems like around that time we really had conspiracy theories had caught on. Because if you believed, you had evidence here that had been authenticated about the CIA being involved with JFK's assassination. And so if that was true, which it seemed to be at that time, then what else might be true? And we began to see an explosion of conspiracy theories, as well as the internet. And now, here we are. Please work. Please work, please work. Okay. All right. It is a conspiracy. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? It does make me wonder. So, what do? How do we respond to conspiracy theories? Well, that's a hard one, because we know that a lot of things don't work. It's not enough to be right. You have to know how to sell it. Probably not like Walter White sold crack. Don't be the danger. We know that humor doesn't work. I've tried that. We know arguments don't work. I've tried that. What seems to work, and nobody knows what works for sure, because it does vary, but positive words and gestures, acknowledging people's points of view, allaying their fears, connecting with them, because we all have fears. We all worry. We want the best for our children. We want the best for our health. We want the world to be a safe place. We want to know. Our survival depends on knowing. We're hardwired to know. That's a terrific conspiracy theory. Indeed. Would you like to hear about the KGB again? Oh. Those eyes. Those eyes. He understands me. When you're trying to persuade somebody to an action, good luck. But also, they found that what they think might work, at least in a lot of people, especially if they're on the fence, is to say, in a non-patronizing but authoritative way. For example, a doctor, I don't know if Richard's tried this, but for a doctor, for someone who comes in for vaccinations, to simply say, well, today we're going to do some vaccinations. Not to browbeat, not to ask or to argue, but to simply state, this is what we're going to do. I have tried this a little bit with people that I know who are sick and who believe chupacabra teeth might fix them or whatever. Say, yes, the chupacabra teeth. Oh, yes, that's nice to try, and you're going to have the surgery. And usually they will say yes. They usually will say yes, unless they're very, very determined not to. In general, especially if you have bystanders, it's been found that often it does help if there's a mutually trusted source, and you're not going to find necessarily a mutually trusted source with someone who is a rabid conspiracy or pseudoscience advocate. But a lot of times with the bystanders, something like Snopes that discredits whatever the theory is can be effective, because a lot of times conspiracy theories by their very nature sound plausible. You say, I want to believe that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense what you're saying until you find out that there's no truth to it and somebody gives an opposing view. So that is often a very good way to persuade people who are on the fence. And again, it's just not working. Okay, we'll give up on that. So Facebook, which does own you and everything about you and makes a lot of money off of it, they do a little bit of good in that they did a big study that when people posted false news stories, that if in the comments someone posted a link to Snopes or some authority who contradicted that news story, that very often that post was deleted and it wasn't then shared as frequently and began to die out. Now it comes back in a couple of years because somebody sees, a man beast walking in Whole Foods and, he was, had the Loch Ness Monster in his shopping cart. But they always come back. But they do die down if they're contradicted in not an argumentative way, but an authoritative way. Again, sometimes you can convince the person who's the poster, but often it is more a convincing of the people who see the post. But nobody knows. There are people who study this. They are studying it frantically because of vaccination, the anti-vaxxers, particularly right now. So, but the people here, this is Oasis, a community grounded in reason, and we would never succumb to conspiracy theories or pseudoscience. I know. So, it happens to all of us. We click on something without meaning to. That sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to post that on Facebook. Or our grandmother tells us something, so we repeat it. So how do we avoid ourselves having all of this knowledge and grounding in reason? How do we avoid succumbing to these? We look for consensus. Sometimes this takes time. That's one of the problems. It takes time for a lot of studies to come out about something. It takes time to learn about things, but we can triangulate a likely answer from a lot of sources because the truth is out there. Eventually, conspiracies come to light if they're real. If they're not, we find that there is enough evidence to make us think that whatever we're believing is not true. The problem is there's always a guy that your grandmother sees who has that website, the one guy. So you have to not believe the one guy with the website. And I really didn't check to see what's on whattheydon'tknow.com, so don't click on that because who knows. But you cannot unsee. The problem is, though, that there is never perfect information. We can never know anything. We cannot know anything for sure. We can only presume. That's why it's a theory of gravity, a theory of evolution. The preponderance of the evidence is there. We believe it to be true. We can see the evidence for it. But we never have perfect information. That's why we have to learn to do this. Embrace uncertainty. The end. Thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Questions?